He promised transparency the way a locked door promises fresh air. On a Tuesday at 2:17 p.m., a second signature appeared on a public form. They thought it meant urgency. It actually meant a promise owed to a donor. By Friday, the city wasn't arguing about a purchase, only about who doctored it. Stay with me till the very end, because this trail reveals which policy was broken, which file mattered, and who had to answer for a second signature that never belonged on a single approval. The procurement office on the 5th floor smelled of copier toner and coffee that had fought too long with air. Maya Ortiz, a compliance analyst on salary grade 9, queued invoices into the scan system and watched them vanish into indexed certainty. She liked certainty, timestamps, initials again. On her screen, a mayor's final approval form flickered, faded, returned. One version had the mayor's wet signature. The other had it twice. Maya blinked, enlarged the PDF. The first signature aligned with what she'd seen for years, slanting to the right, bold in the middle stroke, blue ink scanned to almost black. The second signature, lower right, claimed expedited concurrence. She'd never heard of that. She checked local policy 4.17, 2 layers of purchasing oversight, not 2 mayoral signatures. In the hallway, someone laughed too loudly, the way people do near closed doors. The vendor was Pike & Merge Infrastructure, a name that had ridden every bond project since before she moved here from Calgary. The amount, $4.3 million USD, for modular bridge panels to replace a flood-damaged crossing near Ellison Park. Emergency procurement, the cover memo said, stamped Monday, 8:41 a.m. The mayor's approval timestamp read 9:02 a.m. and then 2:17 p.m., same day. Why would you sign twice? Maya whispered to the humming scanner. She pulled the audit trail for the document. The city's content system kept hidden fields for who uploaded which version when. The audit showed an original upload at 9:07 a.m. by the Deputy Chief of Staff, and a revised upload corrected page order at 2:21 p.m. by the same account. But the property labeled sign source said wet/scan both times. No reason existed to add anything, much less a line invented during a weekday lunch. She asked the office manager, Rena, if expedited concurrence was a thing. Rena laughed softly, then stopped. We used to have co-signature for bond counsel, but that's gone. And not from the mayor. Who told you that? Maya shook her head. She printed both versions and clipped them neatly, an old habit. The phone on her desk rang. Compliance, Maya answered. The caller ended after a breath, like they'd exhaled a secret and changed their mind. At lunch, Maya sat under the city seal mural, a bronze ring that said, "In service, in sunlight." She scrolled through Pike & Merge donor records on her phone. In last November's filing, they donated $12,500 to Citizens for Renewal, the mayor's political action committee, and the CEO had hosted a fundraiser with a suggested donation of $1,000 per plate. It was public information, it just always looked harmless until it didn't. The second signature sat there like a duplicate key, promising entry nobody requested. The Deputy Chief of Staff, a polished man named Hal, appeared at the cubicle edge. Heard you found a versioning hiccup, he said, smiling like a laminated brochure. We sometimes do parallel approvals to reassure lenders. Maya nodded. There were no lenders on emergency infrastructure purchases, the city used reserve funds. He set a letter on her desk, no irregularities found, it read, citing routine consolidation of signatures. False comfort arrived on official letterhead. She read the letter twice. It predated her question by 2 hours. The letter referenced her by name. That meant Hal knew before she asked. She checked the metadata on the revised PDF, creation 2:19 p.m., modification 2:21 p.m., upload 2:21 p.m. The letter was stamped 12:04 p.m., a confidence about no irregularities before the new version even existed. That discrepancy curled inside her chest like a paper cut you only feel in cold air. In the records room, she found the paper original binder. The mayor's approval form had a blue ink signature at 9:02 a.m. The second signature line didn't exist, just a faint impression, as if someone had pressed there with a thumb. Someone in that office would later wish they'd saved the first version. She returned to her desk and opened a new folder, Ellison Approvals Discrepancies.
Naming a thing made it real, preserving it made the room colder.
Maya's supervisor, Dixon, perched on a chair corner. "You're efficient," he said, like a man congratulating the person tying his life raft. "This is probably a non-thing. The mayor likes belt and suspenders optics. We keep moving, yes?" He didn't threaten, he tapped his pen 3 times and smiled toward the elevator. She pictured the washed-out bridge near Ellison Park, families detouring 20 minutes every morning, and the city's motto, "In service, in sunlight." At 4:11 p.m., an email from City CLK Archive arrived in her inbox, attached, combined approvals packet. It contained 22 pages, memos, disaster declaration, cost estimate. Page 14 was the approval again, with the duplicate signature and a faint gray phrase beneath, "Concurrence executed off-site, mobile." The city never accepted mobile signatures for final approvals. She printed it and ran a fingertip across the gray words. Inkjet grit answered back like sand. That night, Maya placed the pages on her kitchen table, laid out in 2 columns, what the morning looked like and what the afternoon insisted. Her cat pawed at the corner of mobile. Maya poured tea and wrote a list: define expedited concurrence, identify who added line, reconcile letter time. Her phone lit with a text from an unknown number: "Be careful with Ellison. Some forms are ceremonial." She didn't like the ceremony. She liked real bridges. Retention reset. The timestamp had seemed minor to everyone else until it started acting like a clock that accused. Wednesday, 9:08 a.m., a voicemail from a reporter. "This is Leah Chen with the Standard. A colleague said you've got procurement concerns." "Off the record, do you?" Maya deleted the message, then retrieved it like a person putting back a pebble they hadn't meant to collect. She'd filed one formal ethics complaint before, gently, about a conflict with a council member's cousin. This felt bigger. It felt like the kind of thing people didn't forget you for doing. She requested the server logs from IT routine for audits, unusual for Wednesday mornings. The admin, Seth, had a soft voice and a heavier sense of wrong. "You asking for a bag of salt before the snow?" he joked. She said she needed the upload hashes for the mayor's approval. He frowned. "If I give you that, you found a reason." He sent them anyway, strings of alphanumeric certainty, one for 907 and one for 221. The hash for 907 matched the scan from the physical binder. The hash for 221 corresponded to a file that existed nowhere on paper. The content was the same except for one difference: the additional signature and the mobile note in faint gray. Someone had introduced a second mayoral signature into the digital official record, no corresponding paper trail. That wasn't consolidation. That was the narrative. At the time, no one noticed the blank space in the log. Maya submitted a formal request to the mayor's office: "Please provide the physical origin of the 2:17 p.m. concurrence." The response was quick: due to scheduling, the document was signed while traveling, then scanned. That was 2 impossibilities: wet signature off-site, and same-page duplication. "Is it customary?" she wrote back. "Yes," Hal replied. "For decades." She opened older records. In a decade of approvals, she found co-signatures from legal counsel, not the mayor. Never twice. In the hallway, a courier wheeled a sealed banker's box toward her door, labeled Ellison Packets, hard copies. It contained duplicates of the identical 22 pages. Page 14 bore the second signature, now printed so dark it looked original. But the fibers of the paper told another story. You could see where a lighter rectangle overlapped a darker field, an embedded image block, not a straight scan. "Someone thought that would pass," Maya murmured. She filed the ethics complaint at 3:19 p.m., naming the discrepancy, the altered digital record, and the political donations. "This may be merely a procedural mislabeling," she allowed, "because that's how you write if you want to keep your job." She sent the complaint to the city's Ethics and Accountability Office. The auto reply arrived: "We have received your submission. A case number will be assigned." She breathed out, leaned back, and counted her breaths. It looked like a typo. It wasn't. By Thursday morning, Leah Chen knew Maya's name. "I won't quote you," Leah said, voice even.
But the public needs to know if a bridge contract was fast-tracked because someone felt indebted after a fundraiser.
Maya told her what she could about hashes, timestamps, and the second signature.
Leah said, shifting truth has a sound, the click that doesn't happen when a lock is real.
They agreed to meet at a coffee shop 2 blocks from City Hall.
At 10:02 a.m., Leah placed a folder between their cups.
Donor spreadsheet, she said.
From the PAC's public filings. Pike and Merge pledged $50,000 over 18 months, spread across sub-entities.
3 days before the Ellison emergency declaration, the PAC chair emailed, "Appreciate the faith, Ellison timeline is tight but aligned." Maya's breath pressed against her ribs.
The email was a public record extracted by a lawsuit, no need for a leak.
It was there the whole time.
Who signs twice?
Leah asked. Someone who wants to be seen twice, Maya said.
They reviewed the policies. Emergency procurement allowed an accelerated schedule, but not a dual mayoral signature. Oversight still applied, notice to council, competitive quotes where feasible, firewall against donor influence.
The firewall had a door if donors brought heat. Leah said, "We'll need on-the-record voices."
Maya nodded slowly, like a person who knows a road ends at a bridge and still walks it.
In the afternoon, a new upload appeared, Ellison Map Traffic Detour Final. It used a photograph of a smiling mayor pointing at a detour sign. Leah texted, "They're doing optics."
Maya clicked through ancillary files and found a scanned acknowledgement from the mayor dated Tuesday, 2:16 p.m., 1 minute before the concurrence. The acknowledgement was routine, "I have been briefed."
But it implied presence, not signature. The minute mattered. 1 minute can be a door. Friday morning, the Ethics and Accountability Office scheduled an interview. The investigator, Kayla Durham, set a neutral smile across a neutral table.
Inspired by true events and composites aside, she said dryly, "Walk me through your version."
Maya did. Kayla listened without interrupting, then asked, "If this goes public, will the bridges get built slower?" It was a fair question in a city of winter thaws. "They'll get built right," Maya answered. That afternoon, the mayor held a press conference in the council chamber, flags at his shoulder, a slideshow at his back. "We expedited safety," he said.
Any duplication in approvals is a legacy habit meant to ensure speed.
A reporter asked if donors had influence. "Absolutely not," he said, voice warm as July. "Our infrastructure partners are chosen by qualification and urgency."
He smiled with the confidence of a man whose signature multiplied without punishment. The phrase legacy habit would age badly in print.
Leah published Saturday morning, the mayor's second signature.
It was careful dates, files, policy citations, no accusations beyond inconsistencies. It included a screenshot of the 2 approval versions with the audit times.
It cited Pike and Merge donations and the Depreciate the Faith email. It quoted an unnamed compliance analyst, "We had 1 approval before breakfast, another after lunch."
Shifting truth had come to town in a headline font. By noon, council members posted neutral statements about process integrity. The city's social media used the word clarify until it lost meaning.
An aide texted Maya from a number ending in 17, "Be smart. You're not special."
She screenshot it, saved it in the discrepancies folder. That evening, Leah called, "Pike and Merge just sent a letter threatening to pull out if harassed."
False comfort had a cousin, false threat.
And threats create stairs you never asked to climb. Monday, the council announced a special oversight hearing for the following Thursday, 2 p.m. Leah smiled grimly when she read the notice.
"They're betting optics beat evidence," she said. Maya prepared a timeline: bridge damage, emergency declaration, donor email, first signature at 9:02 a.m., letter at 12:04 p.m., and second signature at 2:17 p.m., and audit logs at 2:21 p.m., phases of denial. She added a quiet line at the top, "In service, in sunlight." Kayla from Ethics requested a sworn statement. Maya wrote it without adjectives, breathing between each noun.
Meanwhile, Hal walked past her desk and said, "We are all rowing in the same boat, Maya." She looked up, made herself neutral.
"I'm rowing toward the policy," she said. Hal's smile didn't move. "Policies are boats. Mayors are rivers.
He moved on, leaving the cubicle warmer by 2 degrees and colder by 20 years. Leah met with Pike and Merge's public affairs director, a woman named Sylvie who knew how to change a room's temperature by choosing when to sip coffee.
We responded to an emergency, Sylvie said. If 2 signatures reassure the public, all the better. Leah asked, who requested it?
Sylvie's coffee paused.
We act in the city direction. From whose office? Leah asked.
Sylvie smiled with lips only.
Institutional memory can be imprecise.
It was the first confession. That night, the city clerk's portal quietly updated the Ellison packet again. Correction slip, note removed, mobile.
No explanation.
The mobile phrase had been the clumsiest lie, now it was also a deleted lie. Shifting truth isn't satisfied with one contradiction, it collects them like bruises.
Leah screenshotted every iteration. Maya printed the correction slip and clipped it under the first printout.
The stack looked like a short biography of a long habit. A removed word said more than a new one would have. Thursday's hearing opened with the council chair reading a statement about trust that breathes.
The mayor took the mic, smiling.
We serve. We adjust, he said.
The second signature is a visual reinforcement. Leah sat near the aisle, recording. Kayla occupied the back row like a ledger.
When Maya's turn came, she laid out the timeline without adjectives.
The 1204 letter predates the second version, she said.
That requires foreknowledge of a change.
Hal leaned forward in his chair and asked, is it possible the letter referenced a general practice? Maya said, the letter names the Ellison document by ID number. Silence attached itself to the room for a measurable second. The chair asked for the ID.
Kayla handed it up, the same number printed on both the 907 and 221 versions.
So, the chair said, your office anticipated an afternoon version at noon? Hal's hand creaked on the table. Leah's next slide was irrefutable proof. She displayed 2 PDF properties screened side by side, same document ID, different internal page object count, and a manipulated layer on page 14 labeled /img_sig2. This mark doesn't exist in the morning file, Leah said. It appears only after 2:19 p.m., when someone added a second signature image layer to the approval page.
Kayla spoke, and policy disallows duplicate mayoral approvals.
The room heard it that way, policy, not politics. The mayor cleared his throat.
Technical decisions are delegated, he said.
We don't manage layers. The chair asked, did you sign twice? He said, I authorized expedited measures. Did you sign twice? Leah repeated, less politely.
He looked at the screen where his own name stood twice like 2 hands waving hello from the same person.
I signed the approval, he said at last. Our staff ensured clarity.
The word clarity slumped in its chair.
Hal's inbox produced a text message chain between himself and the PAC chair, obtained via subpoena-like request by Leah. Ellison Optics help us, the PAC chair wrote. Let's make the mayor's commitment visible. Hal replied, we can reinforce on the dock.
The phrase reinforce on the dock sounded like carpentry. The chair read the line aloud. The public gallery inhaled.
Sometimes, accountability looks like a single word clanging against a microphone. The hearing paused for counsel to confer. The city attorney whispered, the mayor listened, and Hal stared at the tabletop's wood grain as if it offered an exit. Kayla's notebook contained a single phrase now /img_sig2.
In the pause, the public noticed how quiet the room could be when everybody decided to hear. Outside, the Ellison detour punished late arrivals with 20 extra minutes and 5 additional red lights. Inside, a habit became a fact. What they called reinforcement would soon read improper alteration in a report. By evening, the council issued interim findings: improper alteration of an official approval document, corrective training and sanctions recommended.
The mayor's office promised cooperation. Kayla's office expanded its scope to donor influence indicators.
Leah filed a follow-up piece titled, When Favors Become Evidence. Maya returned to her desk and removed the clip from the stack. She placed the pages back in order, like a bridge assembled, beams, bolts, deck walkable again. Hal resigned 2 days later, effectively to pursue opportunities.
The statement thanked the mayor for vision.
The same hour, the city posted a temporary policy update. Final approvals require a single authorizing signature, any visual duplications prohibited.
That sentence felt like the first plank in a repaired walkway. A staff email instructed analysts to re-verify emergency packets from the past year.
The office hummed with a new kind of noise, uneasy, then relieved. Maya found 3 more instances where the visual reinforcement had slipped in, none as brazen, none tied to donors. Each time, the afternoon file had grown a layer. Each time, the original paper remained faithfully singular. She documented them, forwarded them to Kayla, and wrote, "Pattern corrected by policy."
Leah's next article wasn't about scandal but about repair, City ends second signature habit after audit. The comments section did what comments sections do. The ethics report arrived 4 weeks later. It named practices, not monsters, cultural acceptance of ceremonial additions, conflation of optics with authorization. Yet it did not spare names. It cited Hal's reinforce on the doc text. It noted the PAC email.
The mayor received a formal reprimand for failure to prevent improper alteration, and was required to attend procurement ethics training. The phrase "attend training" looked small until you remembered it lived next to reprimand. In Ellison Park, a crane lifted the first modular panel into place. Children on scooters watched from a distance, mothers with folded arms at their backs. A city engineer explained to a cameraman how the panel locked into the abutment.
When the mayor arrived, he cut a ribbon but didn't hold a pen. Leah filmed him not signing. Absence can be a headline if you know how to edit for trust.
Maya sat at her kitchen table again, the stack now a thin packet, printouts of the new policy and the ethics summary.
Her cat batted a corner, then decided it wasn't a toy. Maya texted Leah, "They changed it." Leah replied, "We changed it."
Maya poured tea and looked at Ellison's live cam. The bridge bore its first steady line of evening headlights.
In the glow, the second signature seemed childlike, a trick that stops working once the adults notice. The lesson hid in a small policy sentence that would save hours of argument for years.
At the next council meeting, a citizen stepped to the podium and said, "Thank you for making sure one signature means one signature."
He smiled nervously, the way people do when they choose to be specific in public. The chair nodded. The mayor said, "We appreciate accountability." It didn't sound rehearsed.
Maya watched from the gallery and wondered how many times those words had been shaped by fear and favor, then softened by daylight. Kayla sent a closing note to Maya, "Your clarity shortened our investigation." The phrase felt like a hinge. Leah mailed Maya a framed print of page 14, with the layer label blacked out and the policy line highlighted beneath. "For the wall you don't have yet," the card read.
Maya smiled.
On her desk at work, she placed a sticky note, "Check first versions first." It was both obvious and newly important.
So what had happened?
A PAC donor wanted visible commitment, a staffer interpreted visible literally, a city used to ceremonial optics didn't notice when a lawyer changed a law's face. The mayor benefited from the confusion and then suffered from the clarity. Pike and Merge installed a bridge that people needed, a fact that made the story harder and the ethics simpler. Good ends do not excuse wrong means. In service, in sunlight, with rules intact.
Leah's final piece in the series quoted a procurement professor, "Documentation is not merely memory, it is authority." The professor explained how a second signature converts a single authorizer into a chorus, diluting accountability. If everybody signed, she wrote, nobody decided.
The city posted a training video featuring Maya's hands, not her face, flipping through a clean approval packet.
"One signature, one decision," the narrator said. "Everything else belongs in a memo, not on the line." In the months after, the mayor's office released a donor policy, no private communications suggesting timelines on specific procurements. The PAC moved a fundraiser to a month without active city bids. Hal took a position in a different state.
Pike and Merge completed Ellison on schedule and publicly pledged to welcome any transparent review.
The city instituted digital safeguards, automated alerts for layer changes on approvals. The alerts sounded like seatbelts clicking. The system would now tell itself faster than a whistle could. Maya walked Ellison's new span on a breezy Sunday.
A jogger passed on her left. A father taught a child to balance a bike. She touched the railing, cool against her palm.
Somewhere, in a room of glass and badges, the phrase expedited concurrence had been retired without ceremony. Leah texted a photo of a different counsel using the city's training slides. Replication, she wrote. You could replicate honesty the way you replicate a form if you understood which line mattered. Inside the procurement office, a new poster hung near the copier, evidence beats optics. The training checklist included audit trail review before publication, paper-to-digital reconciliation, and no additive layers on authorizing lines. Dixon tapped the poster when he briefed new hires. This is why you're here, he said. The human impact looked ordinary: fewer meetings, clearer memos, analysts less afraid to ask why twice. Maya filed away a clean Ellison packet and exhaled the breath she'd counted months before. A last image: the city's records room at closing, shelves squared, lights dimmed to a thin line across the floor. In a labeled drawer, page 14 rests without decoration, one signature, one date, one time. The screen in the clerk's office goes dark on a property's window with no extra layer hiding beneath. This story is inspired by true events. Names and details have been changed to protect privacy. If you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, subscribe to this channel and never miss the next case where truth prevails.